you go die. Make them bury you. Born you again in them old Igbo land. You won't go die, make them bury you. Born you again, for them old Igbo land. You won't go die, make them bury you.
Hi. I just want to come and speak to you today. I want to speak, randomly and speculative, because I like to take facts, things that I know, and kind of mix them with things that I'm really not sure of. But I have to admit that I am a strong believer in prophecy, and not only prophecy, but actual documented knowledge, okay? So when you put prophecy, scientific data, and actual knowledge together, even though you may not have the answer, you can only speculate and suspect. Those are the things that I want to talk about. If you're interested in what I'm talking about, hit the subscribe and like button, because I want to answer questions, and I'm not just here to more or less teach. I want to learn too. And it's a lot of you out there that can help teach me. Now, in the history of the world, there has never been such a time as what's going on now internationally. And I would say that's because the world has become smaller. I want to ask the questions to the ADOS of America. There's ADOS all over the world, because everywhere a slave was taken, they are the African descendants of slaves. But then I also learned from, I'm not sure if it was Dr. Ben or if it was Ron Brown, I would call him the archaeologist who was in Egypt making restorations, that I came into the knowledge of self, and that self being knowledge that was never taught to me about my black ancestors, those that came out of Egypt, those that came out of the Benin Empire, and those that came out of the Yoruba land. I'm still learning about Benin and Yoruba land, but I do have bits and pieces. And the question that I have to ask as an American ADOS, with this recent election that has basically split America down the middle, I have to ask the question, are we better off with the Democrats or the reptilicans? Are we better off? I know there's a saying, and then there's a lot of people who say, I'd rather be with the devil I know than the devil I don't know. Which brings me to Trump and Biden. Now, if you look, I would say, throughout the 80s and 90s, you will find so many black entertainers praising Donald Trump. Not only will you hear them praising Donald Trump, but all of them wanted to be in the company of Donald Trump. During that same time period, if you do your research, you will find that Joe Biden was a strong supporter of the Grand Wizard. And for you in other countries who really don't understand the Grand Wizard, that's the head of the Ku Klux Klan, a racist organization that tormented blacks here in America. You know, there's a lot of things that Americans don't know, and especially black Americans. They know so little about themselves. And then if I cross the Atlantic to Africa, I hit an even bigger roadblock. But I've learned a few things about Africa, especially Nigeria, because I had the privilege of living in that country, thanks to Fela and his family, as Fela would thank my family and myself for America. So we were bridging the gap long before it was a popular thing to do. Because as a child, I never saw positive images of myself on television, which I call the one-eyed monster. They never showed me anything positive or something to be proud of. And I grew up in a family where my mom and my dad, they didn't talk about the South and the racism. They never taught me racism because racism is something that has to be taught. So I was never taught, so I never had it. And how I learned, or the beginning stages of me learning, was when our family moved into an all-white neighborhood in, I would say at that time, rural, suburban America. And we moved into a community where my friends were little white kids that I played with. And it was those little white children who taught me that I was different. And it was at that time that I was wondering when I was going to start to look like them. Not knowing that was never going to happen. But in my search for truth, I recognized that those people that I saw on the telly that was giving me television about Africans in Africa. So I thought, or I knew, that the answers lie there, that the truth that I was seeking was there. So over the years, I searched in areas of truth. And that truth came through the art forms for me. Not only the art forms, but, just a need to wanting to know who I am or who am I. So that journey brought me forward through religion. And for me, it started in the Baptist church. And all of the lies that had been taught to me began with white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Jesus, white Santa Claus, and of course, the white fairy godmother. And here I am, a little black girl, and I don't see any really positive images of myself. But when I did see images of me, they were very derogatory. Hair sticking straight up on my head, which, as you can see today, I have embraced because I love my nappy kinky hair that's standing straight up on my head. Because guess what? I don't like a comb in my head. I don't like raking it. So if this is what the Creator has given me, I'm going to work with what I got. Of course, I will enhance it a bit. But I'm not going to go to the extreme of trying to look like somebody else. I'm going to embrace myself because I love our story. When I was able to study with Dr. Kwaku Lynn and Dr. Delaney Smith and Dr. Clark and I don't know if I called Delaney Smith, who did the research on the scriptures or the Holy Bible, because he dissected that. I'm just blessed that I had those teachers that were able to tell me a whole lot about my ancestors. And when they gave me the knowledge of my ancestors, it gave me pride. It gave me reinforcement. It also gave me compassion, because a true king or queen, they don't have to make an announcement that they're king or queen. Others will do it for them. A true king and a true queen know how to humble themselves, and they know how to care equally for their flocks, even the ones they may not care for that much, but they realize and recognize it is their job to nurture and bring and move forward. So there's a lot of kings and queens in this world, and this is something that many of us have failed to do, because we have been so brainwashed with chains upon our mind that the Willie Lynch letter, that psychological and social engineering has done an excellent job. And even though it did the job here in Africa, oh man, I just don't understand. I don't understand that. And I'm trying to comprehend. So maybe some of my African friends, especially those in Nigeria, because that's where I spent the most time in Africa, maybe they can educate me and tell me the importance of tribalism. That's something that I don't understand. When I see a black person, I see my brother or my sister. I see family. But there's an internal thing that happens in Africa where they separate themselves. White folks didn't do this. Well, maybe historically in the past it was done, that they pointed out the differences. But as long as you have black skin, trust me, you are African. And if we want to even look at it from scientific data, you are African. That includes my white folks too. And I say this because all races come from white. All races come from black, including the white race. So when you think like this, you realize that we're all in this global situation together. We're in this global situation together for survival because the powers that be, and that is, if you know the history of America, you know that it was a small group of wealthy white men who created the financial system here in America. Now, if I'm wrong about that, I'd like for someone to reach out to me in your comments and let me know, because I will take the time to read those comments, because we are here to help each other. We are a building block because we all need to know the truth. I was reared and taught that the truth shall set you free. That's also, I'm not sure if it's in the biblical context. I'm not sure if it's in the Torah or the Quran, but it makes sense to me. And the reason why I say it makes sense to me, because if you tell a lie, you got to tell another lie to cover up the first lie. And in order to make that lie realistic, there has to be a little bit of truth in that lie. So you must use discernment. Yes, discernment. Which brings me to this. These are questions that I have. And if I'm wrong, please, somebody, please educate me. Hit the comments. Let me know. I just want to make sure I'm on the right road. But I have some concerns with this global shutdown. I mean global. The world has been shut down from a virus. Now, from scientific data and scientific documented knowledge, I understand that this virus was created in a laboratory. Created by man. And I ask why? Because it doesn't make any sense to me. But I remember in the early 80s, I'll take that back. It was No, early 80s, about the NWO. And I kept hearing that acronym, NWO. And I knew about NWA, but I didn't know about NWO. So, of course, I wanted to know, well, what is NWO? And then I found out NWO stood for New World Order. I'm like, well, what's the New World Order? When is that going to happen? But like most people here on planet Earth, I thought, while I'm out here living joyful, frivolously, learning, trying to spread joy, and moving more into my higher learning and spirituality, I find out that this NWO, this New World Order, would it be something of greatness, something of positive change? But today I see something totally different. Because I read up on the Georgia Guidestones, and the Georgia Guidestones is real, and it's in Georgia. Look it up. Not only did I read about the Georgia Guidestone, but then I found out about the HARP machine, the HARRP. A weather manipulating machine that could possibly create seismic activity. And I'm like, why? Why? What's the reason? What's the purpose? And then going back to this man-made virus, which is something else that made me think, when some people started to express their opinion about it on social media, they were immediately silenced if it did not go in according to the program. And when I say according to the program, that makes me think about program directors in charge of all media who will be heard and who will not be heard. I saw that become a reality, censorship. And once again, I looked at my brothers and sisters in Africa. And while I'm looking at my brothers and sisters in Africa, I'm seeing how they have mass dysfunction. Yet, they hold more PhDs, more master's degrees, and more bachelors than any ethnic group on the planet. They have been very successful in science and technology. But in Nigeria, you'll be blessed if you can go a week without a power shortage or you can drive 50 miles on good road, or proper toilet, or places where you can go and relieve yourself should the need arise. And the other thing that I saw the last time I was there was a lot of disabled people, and they had to fend for themselves. Some of them severely impaired. The roads being unbelievable, but no provisions made for those that had disabilities, such as ambulation or those that were unable to, well, they can't walk, wheelchair access and things like that. Although this is something relatively new in America, because anyone with a disability is forgotten. But there I saw it really in my face, and I wanted to know, where's the compassion? First time I ever saw, or more than once, the dead bodies in the streets. Well, the first time was here in America, but I was a child and I didn't know it was a dead body. I just wondered how come that man that had a hole in his head in the middle of the street didn't wake up. I saw the gray matter, but I didn't know he was dead. In Nigeria, I saw it a lot. And I saw it to the point where you have to wait hours to get help, opposed to minutes. I just have all these questions still and no answers. I'm just trying to connect the dots. So all of a sudden now that we have this serious global shutdown where mainstream America, and I guess mainstreams of other parts of the world, those people that were thriving and making business, the entrepreneurs, if it was in entertainment or food, the restaurant business, they have literally been shut down. Not to mention those that had trades such as doing hair, massages, facials, makeup. That's another one you can see because I've had to do my own. But those people have been put out of work because of this man-made virus that happened between two countries, America and China. And the reason how come I say America and China, because the research I've done and the books I've read let me know that it started here in America, that it was studies that had taken place even during the Obama era, which Fauci and Bill Gates were a part of. I have read and I have seen the documentation connecting Gates and Fauci. When I say Gates, I'm talking about Bill and Melinda, that have connected them to the CDC, the NIH, and the WHO. And it makes me wonder. Also, when I've seen the documentation that Bill Gates owned the patent on nanotech vaccines, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if the patent number is WO 2020 06060606. I know the sixes are correct. It's the first number is the WO 2020. And I look at those numbers because I was reared in Christianity. So those numbers mean a lot. So I'm speculating now. And I remember in 1969, the year that I met Fela, and the nightclub, the Citadel de Haiti, and it's that black building that's set in the back, and the address of that building was 6666 Sunset, which you today will not find a 6666 Sunset. That building, all of that is gone. But I know that it existed during a very interesting period in America, which we call the dawning of the age of Aquarius. It was very big that year. I mean, these are just things and thoughts. So if you can help me out and help me to find the real answers, because I know what I've read. I know that in many things I'm speculating, but then when you start connecting dots, it does make you go, Another thing I'd like to point out before I go on my merry way, I asked myself the question, why would someone that has advocated depopulation, because I never really understood Margaret Sanger, I thought she was really trying to help women, but I discovered mostly women of color that she was trying to help. When I actually heard the recorded tape session of Bill Gates discussing depopulation, when I know about the Georgia Guidestones, and when I understand that Bill Gates owned the patent on nanotech vaccines, and he owns the patent on crypto tracking, and everyone at one point was discussing the new technology that had come into existence for the IA, or the AI, I should say. The AI, and then to find out that this vaccine has what they call RNA. Look it up. See what it does. I know I've been told that we all have some form of RNA, but it's our RNA in our bodies with our DNA that identifies who we are. But I understand this vaccine that they're pushing real hard, that this man-made RNA attaches itself to our DNA. it makes me wonder, why do we need the nanotech inside the vaccine? And why do we need crypto tracking? Someone please explain, research, educate me. Anyway, I'd like to thank you for your time, for sitting and speculating, researching, joining in with me. And like I said, if you like to enter the discussion, hit and subscribe. Also, I will share my music with you. I've had 2 people tell me you need to write a love song. Well, I would love to write a love song, but it's kind of hard for me to write a love song, especially when I see the state of the world. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next week.